Welcome to The Explainer. We pour so much energy into building and training AI models, but what happens on day 2? Today, we are going to tackle that exact question, the supercritical but often forgotten part of AI governance. What happens after a model goes live in the wild?
Right, so your model is officially launched. High fives all around. But now what? The thing is, launching an AI system isn't crossing the finish line. It's actually the starting gun for this non-stop race of governance, monitoring, and management. Honestly, the real work is just getting started.
And this visual just nails the concept perfectly. You can see the AI lifecycle isn't some straight path from A to B. It's a loop. It's a continuous, iterative process. Post-deployment isn't the end of the road. It's the beginning of a whole new chapter where you're managing a live system that's constantly interacting with the real world. And that requires a constant feedback loop of monitoring and, of course, maintenance.
So let's dive into the first and arguably the most fundamental part of this loop. We're talking about setting up a really vigilant system for continuous oversight. And let me be clear, this is not about passive observation. This is an active, hands-on, ongoing process. Now this is where the theory gets real. It breaks down monitoring into actual concrete strategies. First, you've got a risk-based inventory. This is all about being smart with your resources, right? It helps you focus your attention where it matters most. Then there's managing model drift. This one is absolutely huge. Look, the world changes constantly, and if your model doesn't change with it, its accuracy is just going to plummet. Just imagine a retail model trained before 2020. It would be completely useless at predicting today's shopping habits. And finally, you've got standardized documentation, things like model cards. They create that vital paper trail you need for transparency and, of course, for keeping regulators happy.
But just monitoring what's happening isn't enough. You can't afford to just sit back and wait for problems to pop up. Good governance means you have to be proactive. You've got to stress test your systems and actively hunt for vulnerabilities before they can do any real damage.
So let's talk about red teaming. The easiest way to think about this is like hiring a team of ethical hackers, but for your AI. Their entire job is to try and break it on purpose. They're going to probe it for security holes, try to trick it into saying biased things, and push all its safety filters to the limit. The whole point? Find the weaknesses before the bad guys do. This is a fantastic concept for driving constant improvement. So you have your live model, that's the champion, but in the background, you are always testing a challenger against it. If that challenger starts consistently outperforming the champ on the same data, well, now you have a really solid data-driven reason to make an upgrade. Now here's what's so important about this one. Threat modeling goes way beyond just the algorithm itself. You're examining the entire ecosystem. I'm talking from the data pipelines feeding it information all the way to the APIs that connect it to other software. It's about drawing a map of every single potential security risk across the whole shebang. This table does a great job of pulling all those ideas together. It shows how all these different testing methods are designed to work together, in concert. You're not just doing one thing, you're using a whole suite of tools to make sure your system is optimized for performance, dependable when it counts, and actively working to mitigate risks.
But look, even with all the best proactive testing in the world, you have to plan for the inevitable. Incidents are going to happen. A model is going to spit out a weird result, or a security flaw is going to get discovered. And that is exactly why having a documented, ready-to-execute response plan isn't just a good idea, it is absolutely non-negotiable.
A really solid incident response plan boils down to these 3 clear steps. It's all about reacting quickly and in an organized way, making sure there's full accountability by logging everything in a central place, and then creating a clear audit trail of exactly how you fix the problem. And this isn't just about damage control, It's about making sure you learn from every single failure so it doesn't happen again.
And of course, figuring out the root cause is everything. Was the model just flawed from the get-go, what we call brittleness? Or did its performance just degrade over time because of model drift? Or was it something totally unexpected, like people using it in a way nobody ever intended, which caused all sorts of unforeseen downstream harm? You have to pinpoint that why. It's absolutely key to preventing the next incident. Okay. This brings us to what I like to call the final safeguards. These are 2 of the most critical responsibilities you have: telling people what's going on and having ultimate control over the system.
And I want you to notice the really important difference here. When you're talking to regulators, it's all about proving compliance. You are providing documented proof that you are playing by the rules. But when you're talking to your customers, the goal is totally different. It's about building trust. It's about empowering them with clear information, especially when an AI makes a decision that directly affects their life, like sending an adverse action notice for a loan application. Two very different audiences, two very different goals.
So what happens when all the monitoring, all the mitigation plans, and all the communication in the world just aren't enough to contain a really serious problem? What's the final backstop?
This is it. This is the big red button. The ultimate safeguard is having a policy and the technical means to deactivate or isolate an AI model when you absolutely have to. Maybe it's triggered by a direct order from a regulator, or maybe there's just a catastrophic performance failure. Either way, that ability to pull the plug, the so-called kill switch, is an essential tool for preventing systemic harm.
So after going through all of this, what's the big takeaway? How should we really be thinking about governing AI once it's out there in the world?
This quote from our source material just says it all, doesn't it? AI governance isn't a project with a start and a finish line. It is a continuous, never-ending commitment to finding and managing harm throughout the entire life of the system.
And that leaves us with a final and pretty profound question to chew on. Governing AI after it's been deployed isn't really just about managing a piece of technology. It's about actively, consciously defining our future relationship with it. It's about making sure that as these systems get more and more powerful, human accountability and meaningful control remain right at the center of it all.